Episode 246, 10 Time Wasters.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And yes, you are listening to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. And we're starting a whole totally new week, and it's totally exciting. And that's why we're not going to waste any time, which is the reason that today's episode includes 10 time wasters, which we're going to go through very briefly right after we went through the housekeeping thingamajigger. Right? Sharing is caring in all shortness means that you should share this content. And here's why. I'm doing this podcast pretty much every weekday. Not pretty much, but pretty much every weekday. Monday through Friday at 1300 hours CET or 12 PM GMT or whatever the hell you want to call it. There have been lives changed positively, influenced positively by this podcast, which I never thought would happen, but it did. And so I'm doing this podcast every day altruistically. I'm not spamming you with commercials or advertisements. You learn here for free. I'm not going to rape your wallet like all of those other personal improvement gurus, quote unquote, are attempting to do. So your altruistic mission should be to share this content because it just positively influences lives. That's it. Lives at stake here. Alarm. Note. Whatever. Item number 2, views are my own, yada yada blah, don't reflect blah. Item number 3, construction mode, shitloads of stuff to do, shorter episodes. There, in all conciseness, if there is such a thing as conciseness. English teachers, please write me up, all contents, comment, whatever, please write to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. Now that we have that covered, I hope everyone did well on their exercise over the weekend on increasing your consciousness. If you have questions, comments, feedback on that, please email that same address. That being said, let's get started. 10 time wasters that we all go through. Some of us more than others, but here are the 10 things you definitely want to cut out of your life. Number 1, waiting for inspiration. That's the thing. You sit there. I think Rogan calls it calling the muse. And, when she presents to you what to write down and your inspiration and yet whatever, it doesn't happen that way. Right? You get the inspiration while, I don't know, you're taking a dump or you are driving in your car or you are doing whatever. Then that's going to hit. So it's much less important trying to call the muse, whatever, not the moose, but the muse. But having a notebook ready or anything that you can jot a note on. That can be a paper napkin that you have, in a restaurant somewhere, or it's a cloth napkin and you steal the cloth napkin. Don't worry, they have calculated it into the price. I've actually done that before. No, I'm not going to tell you the restaurant. I think statute of expiration has already moved on. Anyhow, long story short, it's not about waiting for the inspiration, but it's being ready when it comes because it just hits you, smack in the head. And then you have to be ready. Either have a very good memory, start thinking about it if you can't do that because, you're kind of pushing things out of yourself while the inspiration kind of slams you in the head. You want to have something to write it down on. And just manifest on that. Put it in your journal. In your journal, we've went over that. Is like you can expand on that idea, taking further notes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that being said, number 2 is worrying about what people will say. stick up your middle finger with me and hold it, towards those people who actually, people have things. It's my understanding, you've got 168 hours in the week, right? And the people in today's time have too much of it. Right? They have too much free time that they can waste, or whatever. Who am I to say they're wasting their time? But in my eyes, wasting their time talking about other people, there's this thing with the small-minded people and the large-minded people. Large-minded people speak ideas. Small-minded people, they talk about other people, right? And that's pretty much what it boils down to. If people don't have that much time or have more to worry about, then that will, this gossip BS will stop immediately. So, you might as well just not worry about what people think about you, because that's actually a switch you can kind of turn off in your head. Takes a bit of practice, but it's, more something you should actually focus upon. Number 3, complaining. I complain a lot about, other people's lives. And then I immediately catch myself in a moment of awareness, and I've increased my awareness significantly over the last couple of years, and say, what the hell am I doing? I'm wasting time, complaining about something, while I could actually find a solution. And the time that you complain and not find a solution for the problem is actually wasted time. You're with me, right? It makes perfect sense because you're not achieving anything. It's like you're sitting in a circle of whiners, and just whining at each other is not going to solve the fucking problem. So, do something about it. Don't complain. Number 4, trying to please everyone. Just let it be. It's your life. Yeah, you got your spouse and you got your family, and, you should be fair with them, but you shouldn't suck up and kind of put yourself in a position behind them. That is not going to work. That is going to deteriorate your self-development, your path in life. And you are the, piece of leadership in that, whatever the herd or, whatever family or whatever you want to call it. And you need to have a clear head. So, trying to please everyone is, just rather the degree where you don't want to please people anymore is that time where you have to say, okay, look, you're going to have to go your own route. I'm sick of this. And that's what, a lot of people try and, fail miserably. Number 5, and we've talked about this repeatedly, is ironically repeating the same mistakes. Now, I told you multiple times about, when I started my first business, and that didn't go too well because I had, thought that my products and ideas were so great that, customers were just going to, no, they don't. So that's a mistake that I'm never going to make again, because I never want to go through that mistake or that part of my life again where I don't have food in the fridge. Luckily, it never happened again, and it most likely will not, because I will definitely count this and thousands of other lessons I've learned over the last couple of years into my equations when I should ever get into the position where I'm going to start a new business, right? It's learning and not falling again. That's the big secret about it. Next is perfectionism. We went over this in greater detail in one episode where we discussed the 80% rule. I hope you remember, right? It's finishing something 80% is more often than not well enough. And whether or not the logo is cornflower blue, to get in a quote from Fight Club, nobody gives a shit. It's about getting the point across, and all the details really don't matter that a lot of people put into their presentations, etc. And I'm not talking about personal life, right? You want to be good, and you want to be really, really good, and you want to be to yourself 100% true and 100% honest. 100% self-honesty is crucial to success in life, because otherwise you're bullshitting yourself, and then you start bullshitting others, as a kind of avalanche effect. Next is lack of priorities. Now, yesterday, on Friday, and last week, I believe we went through journaling. And that's, one of the very important things where you set your priorities straight for your day-to-day projects. Now, your strategy, your overall your overall strategy in life, something entirely different. But your daily tasks and whatever is, it's important to prioritize. It's important to prioritize your family time. It's important to prioritize, those people that are dear to you, and there's a mutual, tied up relationship, like a really meaningful relationship. Those people should always come first. When you're in a business meeting, they call you, you're going to take that call, right? That's prioritization. And we went through that in another episode on how to prioritize. So, scroll back, look for that. Fear of failure is number 9. And that's what really keeps a lot of people back, because, they don't have the positive mindset. They have the negative mindset. And yes, if you search for the words positive and negative in the history of this podcast, you will find multiple episodes where I go into how to establish a more positive mindset, or the positivist mindset was ever found on this God's planet. And that's what you really, really have to focus upon. Yes, there are tons of sticks that are thrown at you when you go down the route of becoming successful, as an entrepreneur or in your career or whatever. There's going to be tons of people throwing sticks at you, right? But it's about dodging them. It's about, then keeping the positive mindset, which will definitely allow you to excel in that. Now, if you, harness that negative mindset, you're not going to get anywhere, because you're not going to get started, right? And it's about getting started, and you're going to fall, definitely, because one of those sticks is going to go between your legs, right? And you're going to fall. But it's about getting up, learning from the mistakes, carrying on. So, it's the start. It's like the first step that you make is the most crucial, the most important. Now, last but not least is not living your life. And that's one of the biggest time wasters. Right? If you don't live your life is without purpose. But what's your life? And that's something for you to determine. That's where we get into the prioritization. That's where we get into the positive mindset. That's where we get into the goal setting, which we also have. It's about the strategic life planning, where you want to be. Are you one of those people that, gets out of school, goes into a job, does it till they retire, live another 10 years, then die of, whatever? Or are you born for more? There are those people who are comfortable with that. And I am the last person on earth, and I will never, ever judge those people, right? If it's your thing, it's your fucking thing, right? If you want to, wake up at 7 a.m, work until, 9 to 5, your 9 to 5 gig, come home, mow the lawn on the weekend, watch your Netflix, perfectly fine. That's your life. I am not here on God's earth to judge you, nor do I want to snap you out of it, because that's your life. That's where you want to be. But there are those who want to move forward. And there, I can only direct you back to episode 40, the financial freedom exercise. Listen to that, and then, kind of move on that train of informing yourself about that. But for God's sake, do not waste your life. If you are the 9-to-5er and want to move on and become bigger or greater or whatever, then it's upon you to not waste your life watching Netflix, but instead, watching educational videos about how, on entrepreneurship or whatever it is at the end of the day that suits your fancy. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up here because we've covered the 10 things: waiting for inspiration, worrying about what people will say, complaining, trying to please everyone, repeating the same mistakes, perfectionism, lack of priorities, fear of failure, and not living your life. And cut those things out of your life, and you're going to have a lot more time, the only really valuable asset in life at your disposal. And that's what this episode was about. So in that sense, have a nice rest of your Monday. If you've already had your Monday, have a good night. Leave your hands above the blanket. We're going to be back in touch tomorrow when we're going to talk about the process of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, peace out. Bye-bye.